Sanju Samson's fans have always questioned that why he hasn't got a longer rope in the Indian cricket team. But the bigger question here is that has the cricketer done enough to justify his selection in the Indian team? I have Siddhant here with me, I am Love, and we are here to discuss that does Sanju Samson actually deserve a place in this Indian cricket team? Siddhant, looking at his recent numbers and the form that he's in, we are not ignoring the fact that yes, he's talented. Any cricketer who is playing at that level has to have talent, right? But then he hasn't got scores to back that up.
Yeah, love, I have to completely agree with that statement. See, we have always talked about the potential he holds, but has he delivered, on the big stage? Probably if you look at his stats, not. A lot of people will say that he hasn't gotten enough opportunities, but now I think we have got a big enough sample size to really understand whether he's doing well, be it big oppositions or be it the smaller oppositions like Ireland or West Indies. You will shed light on that because I have looked at those numbers. First, you give them the numbers, and then we'll talk about it. I
For
think
sure.
that's
Let's quickly dive into the
yeah.
stats then, and these are shocking. I'm telling you, all the Sanju Samson fans, you're not gonna like it, but that's the reality. So let's quickly first take a look at his overall T20 international numbers. Till now, he has played 25 innings for India and he has scored 444 runs. His average is mere 20.1. His strike rate is almost 133 and he has scored only 250s during this period. And we'll come to that as well. We'll give you a breakup of the teams as well against whom he has scored and how much runs he has scored. And those 250s that he has scored that have come just against Ireland and Zimbabwe. We'll come to that. But Siddhant, these are disappointing numbers, right?
These are disappointing numbers for sure. And before we delve into those, his record against other teams, guys, I want to remind you, please like, share, and subscribe to our content.
Yeah.
If you like what we are doing, please encourage us, as I always say. Anyway, talking about his numbers, love 20.1
Right.
is absolutely irrespective of how many matches you have played. I think 25 innings is a big enough number to understand how well you have performed. His strike rate is okay, 132. You would say 132, 133 is fine. But looking at his average of 20, we talk about how Rishabh Pant hasn't scored enough runs in T20 internationals for India. I think the same goes for Sanju Samson as well.
I think he's done worse.
He's done worse.
Because Rishabh Pant has actually performed in a couple of crunch matches, but then Sanju Samson doesn't have that as well.
I want to ask how many crunch matches he has played for India.
That's also true, by the way.
Yeah.
But then yes, why we are having this discussion is because of the simple fact that he got out on a golden duck. That was the second time.
Golden duck for Mahisha against Mahisha Tikshana. I think first ball, yeah, first ball.
Zero.
You know,
And that was
imagine
the second time that happened to him
Imagine
in
the
T20
guy's got the opportunity. Okay, and you're looking at him. Okay, he's going to open the innings today because see, Shubman Gill is out. He has a back spasm. Sanju Samson gets a chance. All Sanju Samson fans are happy. Samson is gonna play, and then he misses the carom ball.
He misses that ball
And gets bowled. Absolutely, like middle stump it hit.
Also, the fact that yes, he was part of that Zimbabwe tour as well, but then before that, when he played in a crunch match, that was maybe the warm-up match against Bangladesh, but he failed to perform in that as well. So now let's quickly take a look at how he has performed in T20 internationals against each of these teams he has played against in those 25 matches. So let's first talk about the big nations he has played against. Against Sri Lanka, he has played 8 innings and he has scored 102 runs. Against Australia, 3 innings, 48 runs. Against the West Indies, 5 innings, just 77 runs. He got out on a duck against his only innings against Afghanistan as well. Now let's talk about the smaller nations. By smaller nations, I mean teams who haven't done too well in T20 internationals. Zimbabwe, he has played 3 matches against them and he has scored 89 runs. Against Ireland, he has also played 3 matches and 118 runs against them as well.
So Zimbabwe close to 30 average, and against Ireland close to 40 average. But against the bigger teams, it's so less in comparison.
That's the question, that against bigger nations he isn't performing. So how would the selectors invest their trust in Sanju Samson?
Also, Sri Lanka, can you count them?
In T20 internationals,
perhaps they've mounted a good enough challenge against India in the past, in T20s at least. But yeah, considering
they won the Asia Cup as well.
Considering the record, I think Sanju Samson fans, you gotta say it. You gotta agree with us that clearly his record is poor in T20 internationals for India. And if you say that he hasn't gotten enough opportunity, I'm sorry to tell you, he has. 25 innings. People don't get even that. Some certain times people get one series and they're out of the side and they never come back. But look at Sanju Samson. Every time he's been given an opportunity, but really hasn't worked.
Now, most of the people would also question the fact that he scores big in IPL. He is a big T20 international player. If he gets a longer rope, probably he will get that form into the international circuit as well. But I'll break that as well for you now.
A tale of two halves, as we would
Exactly.
say.
It's a
for
tale of
Sanju
two
Samson.
halves in the IPL as well. And it has been this case for quite some time now. And here are the stats which will prove you guys wrong once again. So let's first talk about the recent IPL season, which was the 2024 season. The first 11 innings that Sanju Samson played, he scored 471 runs at an average of 67.2. In the second half, that is the last 4 games, he scored just 60 runs and his average dipped to 15. That also includes 2 playoffs, by the way, where he scored 17 and 10. Let's now go to
I think
IPL.
I think love. We have to first tell them that the problem with Sanju Samson is probably that every time he gets to the crunch situation, and
Yeah.
then is suddenly there's a big dip in form. We saw that in
Exactly.
IPL 2024 as well as the previous time they qualified for the playoffs. There's
I
a
was about to say
2022
that. That
when
was
they lost to
2022.
Gujarat Titans in the final. Give them the stat.
Here are the stats. So in IPL 2022, first 10 matches, Samson scored 298 runs at 33.1 average. Next 7 matches, he scored 169 runs at an average of 22. Again, in the playoffs, 23 and 14. Siddhant, like you rightly said, that when it's time to perform, when your team actually needs you to step up, when your team needs your captain, he's nowhere to be seen.
I think the problem with him is yes, he plays really well in those initial games. I think the year before also 2021 IPL, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah.
he had a similar problem. They scored some great runs in the first few games, like at least in the first more than the first half.
I'll give you the stats, sir.
You have the stats
I have
again.
everything with me. So here it goes. First half, that is first 10 matches in IPL 2021, he scored 433 runs at an average of 54.1.
Wow.
Next 4 matches, he scored 51 runs at an average of 12.7. And Rajasthan, mind you, failed to qualify as well.
So when the race for the playoffs tighten, either they have done too well that Sanju suddenly has a dip in form and it does not affect their chances. Like
Right.
even this year, they were the top team for such a long time, and then there was such a dip in form, and they could not even qualify for the final. But the 2022 playoff, they did make it to the finals. Again, Sanju did not have a great game in the playoffs, great time in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then 2021, they did not even qualify. But as Love showed you, those stats, 10 games, again, Rosie averaging almost 50 or 54.
Imagine.
And then the last 4 games, the business end where you need those crucial points to qualify, stuff like that. He's averaged only what, 12 or 13?
He's averaged, no, not, yeah, he's averaged 12 in
Yeah.
those 4 matches when the team needed him the most. Here's the thing, Siddhant. Gautam Gambhir, who is now the head coach, when he wasn't the head coach, he had advocated for him a lot.
Yeah.
He said that Sanju Samson is the brightest wicketkeeper that you have in the country at present, and Gambhir used to say that openly. But then again, he tried to give him that chance. But now Gambhir
But
would
how-
also realize that
How long a rope can be? How long a rope
it's a
can be?
longer rope, guys. It's not a shorter rope, like
No,
you always say.
probably Rishabh Pant got the longest rope ever.
77 matches.
But Sanju Samson, a lot of people will say, यार ऋषभ को इतने मौके मिले हैं तो संजू को भी देने चाहिए. But
see,
that's probably not fair on other guys. But I'm not really sure if not these two, KL Rahul.
see, at the time, at the time when Sanju Samson
a
was
lot of people said, "नहीं भाई KL Rahul नहीं." I will also say no, not in
KL.
T20.
In T20 internationals, not at all. But then what I'm saying is, why I think that Rishabh Pant got a longer rope as compared to Sanju Samson was because of the fact that he was scoring very well in Test matches. At
Also,
that time.
I think
And at a very good strike rate.
IPL also he was doing
True,
extremely
true,
well.
true.
Test cricket also at a very good strike rate, and with Rishabh he carries that aura also. Everybody you talk to, they'll say that Rishabh Pant is a great wicketkeeper batter, explosive. And when you talk about explosive batters, the format that suits them the most, people would say T20 international cricket, right? But then you look at people like Virender Sehwag, people like Rishabh Pant himself, you'd say they are much better suited for Test cricket, perhaps.
Right.
And let's see what happens.
And now, just to conclude, we now also have Riyan Parag, who is batting in the middle order, mind you, and is bowling as well. So Sanju Samson has a lot more pressure going forward. That's it for now. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. As Siddhant said,
Riyan Parag won't keep wickets.
but then you have Pant for that, right?
But
and he is keeping wickets. Sanju Samson hasn't.
So
kept
Pant
wickets
will get
recently.
another 75 game long rope. Anyway, let's hope both of them come to the party. But right now, based on current form and based on the number, not just current form, based on the stats, okay, he's played enough for India that we know that Sanju Samson really hasn't performed to his potential. Either he'll perform better in the future or he'll perish, because I'm certain that Gautam Gambhir is not somebody who will give you a very long rope if you're not performing.
Yeah, and it's not injustice that's happening with Sanju Samson; it's his own wrongdoing.